Drop to flat coming up. Woo. Oh, definitely felt the bottom on that one.
Hello Vital MTBers! With all the recent noise around the resurgence of coil shocks on trail bikes, we thought it would be a good time to head out into the woods and do a little testing. So to do so, we have a lovely test loop waiting just around the corner. We have our test bike and we have some shocks. We've got a coil shock on the bike already and we've got an air shock. And we're going to ride them back to back and let you know how we get on. Alright, so on the air side we have Fox's excellent Float X2 Factory Series shock. It's an air sprung shock with dual compression and rebound circuits in a twin tube layout. It has adjustable air volume through a spacer system and of course air pressure adjust and a climb switch to lock out low speed compression and help you get back up the hill. On the bike we have the Coil version of the same shock, the DHX2 Fox Factory Series again, with the twin compression, twin rebound adjustments. As you can see, this shock lacks a climb switch simply because Fox does not make one in this size, but it would be an easy fix if I wanted to move over the circuit from the air shock. I could stick it here on the coil shock if I felt I needed it.
Alright, well here we are at the trailhead, ready to rock. I've got a 425 pound spring here. The Capra is a very progressive design in and of itself, so it's not an extremely high spring rate, but I've got it pretty much where I like it now, so ready to get shreddy. And we're off! Alright, we've got a few turns to start us off. Whew, still a bit loose here, had some rain. Drop to flat coming up. Woo. Oh, definitely felt the bottom on that one. Alright, some off camber rocks, holding on for dear life. Bike is smooth, tracking well down here. Woo. Off the old brakes. Woo. Double drop coming up, smooth through there. Alright, things are going well so far. We are on a rail. Woo. That was a bit loose. More loose rock. Oh, this is a tough line. Gap through there. Ooh. The off camber is sketchy still. Oh, it is smooth. The bike is tracking well. Really enjoying it. Woo. Still loose. Bit of a slide. A couple of little kickers. See how far we can go on this. Yoo! Whoa! Blowing turns. Well, a little pre-jump into there. Alright. Oh, there's a rock on my line. Full speed here. Hit it, hit it. Yoo! Bit of a jump. And we're down. Woo! That was good. Just about one near-death experience, but pretty smooth run. The coil does its job through those rough off-camber turns. Pretty impressed, pretty impressed. Feet glued to the pedals and bike is pretty much glued to its line. All good stuff. Gotta climb back up now.
Alright, changing out this bad boy for this bad boy.
Alright then, rolling out with the air shock and already just sprinting. The bike feels a bit lighter, hopping a bunny hop, lots more pop, that's for sure. Will it also be less stuck to the ground? We're gonna find out. A lot harsher in the rear, but also far from bottoming out, not even close to bottom there. Oh, it's a good shock, so it's still working well. Woo, nice bunny hop, that was easy. I can definitely feel more of the ground through my feet. Bike's still tracking well. Popping over the double drop. Yoo! Off the brakes. On the brakes. Woo! There we go. Well, it's a good shock. This air shock, no doubt. It feels a lot harsher through the small stuff. You can feel a lot more of what the rocks and roots were doing through that little techie section there. But there's still a plushness to it. No doubt Fox have done a good job. Whoa, screwed up the turn while talking, sorry. Whoop. All right, airborne. Just lots and lots of support when you land. Little bunny hops, bunny hop into that. Woo. That was nice. Bike is all around way more playful and responsive. All right, nasty. Pin it. Woo. There we go. Pop a little bunny hop up there. Woo. Yeah, that was nice. First impressions. Fox have done a hell of a job on their air shock. There's a lot more pedal feedback, of course. A bit like running into sharper edges, like all the rocks are just a bit harsher. You can feel the roots when you go over them. But the shock is still tracking really nicely, and all that extra support is just really fun. When you're launching off that little drop to flat or heading into the root section, it's just good to have that bottomless feeling that, you know, you're not really going to get to the bottom of the thing. Doesn't matter how badly you screw up. That's a lot of fun. Definitely two different worlds, two different takes on the same application. Tell you a bit more in a bit. All right, well, that was a lot of fun. Back up the hill now after a couple of runs on both shocks. And as you might have gathered by now, this isn't about which is best, rather about understanding what one is good at, what the other one is better at, and which one's right for you. First things first, if you're running a coil shock, that means you have quite a progressive frame. If you've got a very linear rear suspension layout, coil shock is not going to work well. The coil shock itself is inherently linear. It's going to lack bottom out support. You're going to have to go up in spring rate way too much, basically rendering the whole exercise pointless. But if you do have a progressive frame like I have here, coil shock will be a good match. It's impressively supple off the top. You really feel it on the very smallest stuff, at speed, chatter, uneven trail surfaces. Adds a bit of grip, a bit of confidence. It certainly has a tendency to find the bottom of the shock a bit sooner than the air shock. Once I moved over to the air shock, I set my bike up with about the same amount of sag. Immediately noticed a crisper pedaling response, much more support when trying to lift the bike up, bunny hop over something, pushing into a turn. The shock just reacts way quicker. You find support way earlier in the stroke. When it comes to landing big moves, certainly the air shock has a big advantage. Lots of bottom out support that will help take the sting out of almost any landing. You tend to think of the coil shock as like the aggressive choice because it looks kind of motocrossy with the big coil spring and all that, but in actual fact, for most freeride applications, you're probably better off with an air spring. Certainly it's a lot more tunable, especially when it comes to bottom out support. You'll find it a lot easier to work around your different types of trails and the different type of terrain you're riding. If you're on the other hand looking for that ultimate level of confidence and traction and just a smooth feeling bike when you're going fast, coil shock is definitely hard to beat. When people say their air shocks have coil-like suppleness, it's sort of true, but it's sort of not true. A good air shock, like the one that we've been testing here today, feels great, feels awesome. But it just can't match a coil shock when it comes to the really small stuff and taking the sting out of the chatter. But it is a much more versatile tool and probably a lot easier to live with for the majority of riders out there. With that said, I'm gonna go and do one more run because look at the conditions. And for you to decide which toy is best for you. Till next time, see you later. Yo!